ambition, greed, and a guy named Willie Shakespeare.
By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes.
Our version of Macbeth made Shakespeare accessible.
The way I've always looked at the film is that it doesn't take place in any physical place. It takes place in the minds of the characters, in a psychological reality.
Macbeth has been done in many forms and many time periods, but we were inspired by Joel's vision, which was this highly defined black and white and very geometric and very architectural. And that's what helped us come up with a set of rules on Macbeth.
It's fascinating. I don't know, I think it's the first time I worked with a husband and wife team. So that was interesting. Just watching the two of them, how they operate. They're two halves of the same person. I mean, they rely on each other and trust each other. They're both brilliant artists and care about the work.
Joel really wanted the language to be very specific and very clear, and he really wanted the actors and their ability to pull these scenes off and make the language sing and make it real at the same time.
If chance will have me king, why chance may crown me without my stir. Come what come may.
It's important for Joel in films to usually establish visual themes as well as verbal themes and auditory themes.
He's just brilliant. He's one of the most, if not the most brilliant filmmaker I've worked with, period.
There are a lot of things about working with Joel that are unique compared to working with other filmmakers.
Joel is known for really preparing well for pretty much the whole process.
He had this story and he had the visuals already in his head.
Seeing how Joel saw it was a masterclass in filmmaking.
I had done a number of movies with Joel and Ethan, so I had a pretty good sense of what kinds of actors he liked. And at this point, we had Frances McDormand. And once you start thinking about who can play opposite her and hold their own and has had classical training, it was a very, very short list. And then when Denzel said he would do it, it was kind of a miracle because he's classically trained and he's a huge movie star.
My dearest love.
I mean, he's a giant, so that was kind of a dream come true.
Duncan comes here tonight.
Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. Leave all the rest to me.
She was amazing, amazing. She's brilliant, and a lovely, lovely woman, lovely woman.
There was no color on set. There was only a dress or two that Frances McDormand was wearing, which were in color. But otherwise, everything was black and white. So when the actors came on set, they were really aware of what it looks like.
All was in black and white, all on sound stages.
It's just got these very exaggerated abstractions sometimes that come from the sets.
It was kind of obvious it has to be black and white, because black and white already introduced some kind of abstraction. You see, you're not connected to reality in some ways with black and white. You have already a distance.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn, and cauldron bubble. Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth.
You know, with the design of the sets being so abstract, I never felt the need that I needed to have any muted color at all. And just to move quickly, it was just easier to paint in grays.
I've done another black and white movie, and for hair, what you want to do is you're not dealing with color. So you want to have shadows and reflection. And those are your things you're working with. Light or dark, shiny or not shiny.
Designing a film that's in black and white was hugely important. Texture and textiles and embroidery and layering and aging, all these different tools worked really well in this form of black and white.
Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand?
It always came to the way I would light it. We never really know if it's day or night, and it's really in the play. So what if we play with this idea of not knowing? or if there is a transition that you can see going from day to night. It was the first thing just to be kind of ambiguous with the light. The shadows are very sharp. So and I used theater light, in fact. I didn't use any movie light. It was the light you use for a rock and roll concert.
Things without all remedy should be without regard. What's done is done.
We have scorched the snake, not killed it.
The way the film that Joel brilliantly made, that Francis brilliantly played, it moves. It really moves. You understand what it is, and he took his time and got it right.
Joel talked to us about how he wanted to make Macbeth into a film while preserving the theatrical experience of it. So he was going to use filmic influences, mainly from German Expressionism, to turn this into a film.
The format choice that the movie was shot in, 2D backdrops that kind of looked like backdrops in the real theaters, and all the artistic choices that were made would lead to a little bit of an abstraction, especially in the sequences where we are not entirely sure what is reality and what is not. Adds to that level of stage performance.
So it's a combination of backdrops, painted backings, nets, screams, and stuff like that.
Are you a man?
Aye, and a bold one, that dare look upon that which might appall the devil.
An Academy frame was about the power of the close-up. It's a fabulous format. And, you know, seriously, when you have Denzel's face in Academy, it fills the frame, and it's already very strong. And Francis is the same. And has such a presence.
Being in the Academy framing and being able to be in dialogue and to draw with Joel, you could design the sets for those parameters.
It was designed to leave you not in a real place. Gravity isn't quite working right, and you're unsettled by this as a viewer.
What we're all doing is contributing to a framed piece of art that Joel is creating.
What we were creating with the costumes were sort of chess pieces.
All the styles, the costumes and everything were just solid edges.
Shapes triangular, conical, cylinder.
And the way people sort of moved around the set were like chess characters.
I based it on things that would be flattering first to Francis McDormand and to Denzel Washington. That's one of the reasons why there's lattice work in the chest and on the shoulders of the armor. And there's this tufting technique that we used on the under armor and a quilting technique that we used in the sleeves. And it's all in an effort to create interest without being distracting in close-ups.
And then it was about shapes. How can I bring some tension to the image?
Yeah, here's a spot. Out, down, spot. Out, I say.
But it was trying to find a balance where they have to work together. The lines and the acting and the light are in sync.
He kind of gives a very clear idea of what the lighting is supposed to be on set. And that kind of dictates also what we're gonna be working with later. So whatever we do needs to fit into his lighting scheme.
It was also Bruno's idea, which I thought was fantastic. Let's start painting the shadows into the sets.
All men else I have avoided thee, but get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already.
Francis, he's brilliant, obviously, and passionate. I love her. She's a beast. And so am I. So it was a great, we wouldn't call it a battle because it was a concert. It's just two forces coming together. I was getting ready to say for good, but not for good, for evil. But we did it well.
I don't think it gets better than working with Bruno as a DP. What Bruno brings to it is just this incredible cinematic history. I mean, he's a walking encyclopedia.
I had a wonderful relationship with the cinematographer because he couldn't beat me to work. If he was there at 5, I'm like, man, I've been here 2 hours. I would do those speeches and soliloquies just over and over.
Our collaboration with Bruno was far closer this time than it was on the last movie because he was involved a lot more in the post process.
No, it was fun working with them, and they were fabulous.
He would bounce ideas off of us and ask things that he would like to try out and see what the stuff looks like.
So it was a kind of an ongoing process and say, oh, why don't we do this or that?
Alex and Michael, the East Side Effects guys, they have a collaboration with Joel, and they've been, I think this is like their third or fourth movie with him. On this movie, we started turning stuff over to them almost immediately. And that really, really helped us because there were so many sequences in the film where it's kind of a conversation with the VFX department. We couldn't finish cuts of scenes until the VFX were kind of at a certain place. And so the VFX had to kind of inform the edit of certain scenes. So we had to kind of go back and forth with them a lot. And they really made that easy.
You remember in the apparition room when the three witches are talking to him? The cauldron is, obviously we didn't have water on set, so the cauldron is totally visual effect.
Working together with the DP, Bruno Delbonnel, was a great experience. For me, this time was the first one where he was actually able to work completely in a soundstage, which he's known for because he likes to control the lighting to the nth degree. So here he could really shine and show us what he's capable of.
We tried to do as much in camera as we could. It was not like bringing multiple cameras and like 3D thing. It was just like, no, one camera, and then we sort it out later in post.
And I think there ended up being over like 400 VFX shots, which for a film of this size is a lot.
Some are very complex. The end, the crows and everything is all visual effect. They did an amazing job.
The opportunity to work with Joel and Francis on this project in particular was one I couldn't miss. To follow Joel and to see how he works and the level of concentration and preparation was a sight to see. So it was one of the best experiences I've had.
As an auteur, Joel surrounded himself with these other artists that wanted nothing more but to participate in his creation of this world. And I think that as an audience member, I hope that you see that.
I'm really proud of it. I think it's enormously beautiful.
I feel like I've done my job well.
It was very special.
The time to worry about flying is when you're on the ground. You don't trust the pilot, don't go. We were flown around by the most brilliant pilot in the business, Joel Cohen, and a brilliant co-pilot, Francis McDormand. So I knew I was in good hands, and I felt free to try anything.